And this is going to be a very special evening for all of us in accord with the time and what must be done. I am so grateful that we were able to celebrate a successful Savior's Day 2021 in the Nation of Islam. And we were joined by people all over this planet. And I am told that there are viewers from countries around the world watching tonight, as well as around this country. This is a program that is not about religion. This is a program where we come together because we have a common ancestry, a common history, and a common experience. This year, 2021, we commemorate the massacre of the residents and the destruction of a beautiful, flourishing community in Tulsa, Oklahoma, known as Greenwood. Beloved, when our parents were, quote, emancipated from chattel slavery, their number one desire was to first reunite with family members and children and parents that had been sold or lost during those last years. The second most important thing on the agenda of our parents was land, because it was our labor, our blood, sweat, and tears that made the United States the great military and economic power that it ultimately became. We now are in the time of the fulfillment of Scripture in the book of Genesis, where God said to Abraham, he told him that your seed would make a sojourn into a strange land and serve under a strange people for 400 years. But he said that after that time, he would not send someone. He said, I will come and I will judge that nation which they shall serve, and I will deliver them with great substance. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, on the 20th anniversary of the Million Man March, under the theme Justice or Else, spoke to people all over the world. And he said to us, make your own community a safe and decent place to live. And if you look at that statement, he said your own community. Well, in order for it to be our own, we have to own not only the structures that we live in, but we have to own the land that the structures are built on in order for it to truly be our own. And so we're going to have a very productive evening because we're so excited that shortly we will be joined by two very special guests. And I'm not going to introduce them now. They will be introduced momentarily. At this time, I want to bring on a very special brother who is going to serve as our moderator this evening, Brother Cartier Muhammad. And Brother Cartier is 26 years old. He's a young man. And he's a young man who is very mature, has a great deal of vision, and has the love of our people in his heart. He has been in the Nation of Islam for 7 years and has been a member of the police force for 4 years. This is very significant and crucial because one of the important aspects of independence is we will be responsible for the protection of our own community. We are suffering now from invasion in our community, and we will have to self-police when we are on our own. And so it is important that it be our own who secure us and protect us. Brother Cartier recently went viral on the internet when a bystander videotaped Brother Cartier making an arrest. During the arrest, a security guard approached and punched the suspect in his face while he was handcuffed and in the custody of Brother Cartier. Brother Cartier immediately handcuffed and arrested the security guard who had assaulted the person in his custody. And so over 5 million views on social media, with the viewers applauding our brother for defending the rights of the suspect. He is also married and the father of 4 wonderful sons. And he is a member of our Project Separation team. He is a doer. He is a man that moves in and among the members of our community, and he is essential to this phase of our exodus. And so without further ado, please welcome Brother Cartier. Assalamu alaikum, sir, and Ramadan Mubarak.
Wa alaikum salam, Sister Ava. Ramadan Kareem. Thank you for your kind words. Very nice. I want to thank you as well for allowing me to be on a part of this this process that we're in now. I'm sorry, I'm trying to pull up my. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yes, ma'am. I want to let you know as well too. I'm 27. I had a birthday.
Oh, you old guy. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
I got a daughter, 24. I guess.
We all in that group. I want to introduce Brother Michael J. Muhammad. He's a 3rd generation member of the Nation of Islam, in which his grandparents and his parents from both sides are still active members in this mission by Allah's grace. Brother Michael is joyfully married to who he calls his Good Samaritan, his mentor, and his shaper, the one who Allah sent him in the form of a well-made woman, his beloved wife, Sister Anika Muhammad. Brother Michael and his wife are blessed to share 5 beautiful children and are the humble and joyful owners of MSG-LV, The Beat, which is a radio channel, MSG-LV Farms, and MSG-LV Science and Medicine. Assalamu alaikum, Brother Michael.
Wa alaikum salam, Brother Cartier. How are you feeling, brother?
I'm well by Allah's grace, brother. Good to see you.
You too, sir. And I'm just want to say first, in the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, I am so honored again to be even thought of and considered by dear Minister Ava Muhammad and her team, Sister Rona, Sister Donna, the whole staff, Brother Terrence. It gets me sweaty at the palms every time because you see Allah's working with you, your family, and the entire nation, and it gets you kind of you know, a little bit in the back, a little chills, because you watching Allah's promise come in fulfillment, and he just thought to choose you and your people at that time to fit within that moment of time to be that people. So yes, you know, the Savior's Day. Oh, assalamu alaikum to the family. But the Savior's Day we had, you know, we discussed again the farm and what we were doing, and just to kind of go into that, yes, we were blessed with some land, and 22 acres of it, and we were blessed to have, you know, an abundance of life on that land, abundance of fruit and vegetables, and abundance of aquatic animals. Now that we have now some fish and things like that. So we are still learning, and still very much a surreal experience, a surreal reality. So I thank Sister Minister Ava again for bringing me into this realm of discussion.
Thank you so much. And so I think now,
Yes.
before we bring on our special guests, who are actually gaining recognition on a national level,
Yes.
for moving out on something that we as a people need desperately. And regardless of our theology, you know, as I indicated in the opening, we share a common ancestry, a common history, and a common experience. No matter what minor theological differences we may have as a people, we are a spiritual people whose faith in God has brought us to where we are now. And I think everyone will remember the rest of our lives the murder of our brother George Floyd in front of the world, and then the emotional roller coaster of watching the trial of his murderer. And of course, justice was not secured, though there was a measure of accountability. But even as Derek Chauvin was being led away in chains, these killings by police were continuing to occur. And so I think our people, Brother Cartier and Brother Michael, are finally, you know, coming around, though many of our people have known this for a long time. But as a people, we're understanding the need for us to have unity, and that we are just in need of a safe haven.
Mm.
This is the directive of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan in 2015. Make
Yes,
your
sir.
own community a safe and decent place to live.
Mm.
And some of our people are moving out on that, because in order to make the community safe and decent, we have to make the community
Come
in the
on.
first instance. And if you look at the March 16th issue of the Final Call newspaper, the headline page, the cover page of that issue raised a question. And that question was, is where you live killing you? Housing discrimination in America is not only supposed to be illegal, but it also impacts how you live. Black people suffer health problems, exposure to environmental hazards, and lack of access to healthy food and healthy spaces because of where they are forced to live. And so, as both of you recall, during our plenary session, Savior's Day, we presented real life examples, including you, Brother Michael.
Yes, ma'am.
Black people acquiring land
Mm.
because only way we're going to know freedom, justice, and equality is through independence. And independence is going to require that we have land that we can live on together in peace, which we were doing in Tulsa, Oklahoma, when the first bombing air raid, though it was with homemade bombs, it was really throwing, I think, cloth wrapped in flammable oil or inflammable liquid, literally dropped just a few years after the invention of the airplane, dropped on Greenville out of a contempt and an envy and jealousy for these beautiful people who had built businesses. We had a hospital, we had schools, we had churches, we had movie theaters, we had stores, we had law offices, banks, every service imaginable. We were self-contained, like many of the enclaves that you see among white people that are all throughout this country today. And so I don't want to dominate the conversation as we prepare for our guests, but Brother Cartier and Brother Michael would like to hear from you. And Brother Cartier, the question has come up in the wake of the murder of George Floyd and the conviction of Derek Chauvin about the role of the Black police officer in this day and time. And you have had some very profound things that I think our viewers need to know about in that aspect.
Absolutely. No, you said something very key a couple minutes, just your last words in regards to making our communities a safe and decent place to live. And we have to now begin owning the land upon which, not just the structures, but the land upon which these communities are built, so that we can control the institutions that produce the atmosphere for the community. So in the wake of the George Floyd, and even going prior to that, the role of the Black man in general, but more specifically, the Black police officer, is to do just that. But we'll be unsuccessful in doing that as long as we leave it up to others to train and to teach Black police officers how to police the Black community. And I think one of the things that this fiasco has shown is that there is precedence now, as it was in the past, that we as Black men and Black women who are law enforcement professionals start taking the point on engineering policy on how to police the Black community. You will no longer be able to send your law enforcement personnel downstate to be trained by others who not only they don't care about the community, they simply just don't know the community. So even if they did care, they don't have a foundation of knowledge by which to produce policy to police the Black community. And I think that that's where we as Black law enforcement come in at. There's so many, you talk about building communities with your own engineered for your own self-interest. Well, that's the role of police. Police are to protect the strategic interests of the local government. And you, as a law enforcement professional, aren't doing that for your community, then you're not fulfilling your duty. So we as Black men first, we as a Black community first have to start building. And as we build, we identify what our strategic interests are. And then after doing that, we enlist men and women whose minds are congruent with that fact, and then have them to protect our strategic interests. So you won't have to worry about something like a total. I hear it often said, if we take on this endeavor and start building and start trying to develop our communities, and we all live in one spot, when the enemy just come and try to kill us? Well, no. I mean, if he did, that's what the purpose of your law enforcement personnel is for. When you have those that are foreign to the vision of the community, same way we go into white people's community and they look at us and be like, okay, he don't belong, instantly pull you over. What are you doing here? How can we help you? Where are you going? Yeah, we'll get there quick, okay? Because we're not responsible for what happens to you when the sun goes down. That's been our treatment, but that's because we're in the communities of others who have a vision for their community that they don't see us fitting in. So now it's our time to start building and engineering societies that are aligned with our strategic interests, and enlisting men and women to protect that.
Yes, sir.
So I say, I think that as time goes on, as we see more and more of these police issues that's not going to stop, we want to be able to take the point, go to the front of the line in regards to producing policy for our own communities and how we want them to look, how we want them to be policed, who we want to be our police, and so forth.
Yes, sir. So, Brother Michael, and as we approach the time for our guests to come on, purchased some farmland that you talked about during Savior's Day.
Yes, ma'am.
And in the 2013 lecture series, The Time of What Must Be Done, Minister Farrakhan made the statement, the genesis of any nation is farming. He said that for the ex-slave, land ownership is the basis of independence, the pathway to wealth.
Wow.
And we know that if you look at the economic spectrum, Black people are not involved in a significant way in any component of it except one. We're not involved in agriculture because we were run out of it. We're not involved in the manufacturing phase because we're kept out of it. We've hardly been making an inroad into retail. All of these because of racist policies. The only component of the economic spectrum that we dominate is consumerism.
Wow.
We're the buyers. We spend all the money. We're able to eke out enough that it adds up to $1 trillion a year. So what do we do to get back into farming?
Well, is that question directed to me, Sister Ava? Well, I'm still learning, but separation comes with pain. We can't act like, it's going to be all pleasure and fun and games, and this separation from a world and a reality that we've been acquainted with our entire lives, our parents, our grandparents. It's something that will take some strength and some tremendous sacrifice and some foresight into what's best for our future. A baby cannot stay in the mother forever. It has to come out within a certain time frame, because anytime after that fixed time, can be very much a fatal thing that happens to both the mother and the baby. So when I went out with Allah and my wife on faith to acquire this, it was not fun at first. They didn't make the mortgage process pleasant. It was times that I wanted to give up. And I actually got down to just about giving up. And when Allah gave me just a little bit more gas, then I found myself opening up the door to something that was only in my head at first and became a reality. That stepping out, we will experience the win, but then Allah would allow you sometimes to experience even some struggle and some battle and some loss. So I can't discuss the wins that I had with Allah in this acquiring land without discussing that, hey, yes, we lost an animal or two through the winter. Hey, yes, we experienced some trial and error with this new reality. And that's the reality of separation. Once you separate, it's going to be a moment in that transition that you'll experience some discomfort maybe. And once you get past that discomfort, then all the blessings that you was not necessarily anticipating begins to just shower over you. And that's what happened. And now we are now owners of a 16-acre farm up the road, a hay farm. Now that we bought this house in December of 2019, and exactly 1 year later, in December of 2020, he allowed us to be owners of the hay farm that we needed for the winter. And I went out and did that with a family, Brother Sultan and his wife, Sister Khadija, out of Muhammad Mosque number 12. And we went together on that property and bought the 16-acre turnkey hay farm. And now I'm still currently, by Allah's permission, trying to acquire some of about 80 acres over on the West Coast, all the way in the desert. You become addicted to this reality because inside of us, we own all of it and beyond. So once you realize you can conquer one, Allah was there with you. It makes you want to go get some more because Allah is going to be there with you again. So we just got to jump and know that the net of love and favor is right there waiting for us to jump right in it. And what you're jumping straight into Allah. You're jumping straight into the destiny. You're jumping straight into the ancestors' prayers that they wanted when they were doing this for someone else. This what they prayed for, that their children would have something, and we just happen to be the perfect time for us to be those children. So that's my piece on that. And I'm still very much in a surreal moment with the experience because I'm still learning. I don't even consider myself to be a farmer. I'm just doing what the messenger and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan told us to do the best way possible. Praise be to Allah.
All praise is due to Allah. Well, my dear viewers, unfortunately, we're having some technical difficulty because our room is filled up, and I think we're having some trouble admitting the main two people who we wanted to hear from tonight. Our guests, sisters Renee Walters and Ashley Nicole Scott. So we're working to make this happen. But in the meantime, Brother Cartier, if you are the person who moved out and actually traveled down to Atlanta and actually met with our sisters and some of the other members of the is Freedom Initiative group, who actually went out in the wake of this wave of police murders and lynchings, because that's what happened to Ahmaud Arbery in Brunswick, Georgia, the young man that was out jogging on a Sunday morning when a father and son, straight out of a Ku Klux Klan nightmare, actually drove up on the sidewalk and blocked his passage with their pickup truck, and then got out and shot this brother down. I think using a shotgun or rifle or both. And this, I know that one of our guests talked about being traumatized by that event. But if you could talk to us, Cartier, a bit about how you came to meet these sisters and what they had to say about this phenomenal act where they just moved out on land acquisition. And it's an example to us that independence, freedom, justice, and equality is achievable. And I think when our people hear the word separation, this brings up feelings of fear and insecurity. We have been under the rule of white people and their offspring for over 400 years. And so there's a certain feeling that we're not talking about a kidnapped victim and the kidnapper. We're talking about 13 or so generations that have been tied to the descendants of the descendants of the kidnapped victims have been tied to the descendants of the kidnappers. And so
I'm sorry to interrupt.
It happened by a process. And we have to correct it by a process. And I think we really have to make it clear to our people that when we say separation, we're talking about something logical and sequential that takes place, and not something we're unfamiliar with, because in truth, under segregation, back in the day, in the days of Tulsa, Oklahoma, and Rosewood in Florida, we owned land. We owned millions of acres of land in the South after slavery, but it was all taken. But let me stop talking and turn it over to you to discuss your meeting with the two sisters.
Yes, ma'am. Well, we got good news too. I think Sister Renee, she was experiencing some technical difficulties, but she's trying to get in now. So what I'm going to do, because what really brought me is the saying that I guess brought everybody else. I saw in an article that 19 families pulled their resources together and bought 96 acres with the intent to develop it into a community. And that's the first time in my lifetime I've seen something like that. So that's what kind of cascaded me into just wanting to get down there and meet them. And since I think Sister Renee is trying to get in, what I'll do is I'll start reading her.
Sister Renee and Ashley are both in, sir.
They're on?
Yes, sir.
Okay, praise be to Allah. Sister Renee, Ashley, can you hear us? Are you unmuted?
Yes, I can hear you fine, sir.
Okay, how you doing?
I'm fine, Brother Cartier. How are you?
I'm doing okay. Praise be to Allah. Sister Ashley, you in too?
I am. Hello, everybody. How you doing today?
We was just.
How you doing, sister?
We were just about to start reading your bio, so I'm gonna hop on and read your bio, Renee, and then Ashley, and I'll let you all go ahead. So Renee Walters is originally from Chicago. She left her home at the age of 18 to seek better opportunities. She traveled the country working for a magazine publishing company where she learned to efficiently and effectively sell to customers of all walks of life. She later moved to Atlanta, Georgia, where she would pursue her career in retail management with different retail chains throughout the Atlanta area, all while going to school for communications. In 2013, tragedy struck. Renee sustained a spinal cord fracture that left her paralyzed from her belly button down due to falling out of the attic of her home. She was admitted into Shepherd Center of Rehabilitation after a couple of weeks of recovering from a 10-hour surgery on her spinal cord. Doctors told Renee she would never walk again. Through hard work and perseverance, and from the grace of God, she learned to do everything the doctors said she would never be able to do again. So now, as single mom of two with a disability, Renee was determined not to let anything stop her from completing her goals that she set out for herself in early life. Although she was unable to work full-time jobs due to her injuries, she took on volunteering with different ministries in her church to keep herself busy. With the help of her church, she formed an outreach ministry to clothe, feed, and help the homeless, provide groceries to families for the holidays, and also assist open up a home for women in need, young women in need. In 2014, Renee met the love of her life, Z Walters, and they formed a union in 2017. In 2018, Renee decided to pursue her career in medical massage. She graduated from Gwinnett College for neuromuscular therapy. Her dreams to work in a hospital in the hospital industry with her husband after graduation were put on hold due to Renee expecting her third child in 2019. Unfortunately, Renee's daughter suffered an injury during birth, causing her to have special needs. Yet in 2020, with grace, Renee rises to the occasion daily as she serves as president of the Freedom Georgia Initiative and leader within her community, all while maintaining her family's household, building multiple businesses, and raising a beautiful special needs baby. Sister Renee, I wish we could all come in and give you a thunderous round of applause, but it might set this thing on fire.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am. I was, and I spoke to Renee in Atlanta at dinner about her injury. It's amazing how the perseverance of the Black woman, man, is when all else fails, Allah brings her through. So for her to be able to do all of what she did in the midst of such overwhelming difficulty, just attests to who the Black woman is, the second self of God. I'm sorry, my thing is it's messing up here. So now I'm going to read Sister Ashley Scott's bio. Sister Ashley Scott is the vice president of the Georgia Freedom Initiative. Ashley is a visionary and entrepreneur, creative executive, realtor, and CEO of Mobile Mavens, an Atlanta-based full-service marketing agency specializing in 360-degree immersive brand experiences and digital marketing. She is a wife to Robert Scott, as well as a mother to two small children. Ashley has been a student of the real estate industry for over 4 years, earning her license in March of 2018, listing rental homes, selling homes to first-time home buyers, and purchasing land. She currently serves as the vice president of the Georgia Freedom Initiative, formed in 2020 to create a thriving safe haven for Black families in response to dealing with racial trauma, a global pandemic, and social economic instabilities. Ashley's company, the Mobile Mavens, helps small businesses engage their target audiences in person as well as online by developing brand strategies and creating assets, photography, videography, graphic design, web design, custom events, and etc., in support of that strategy. Her special talent is teaching her clients how to stand out by creating custom content across social media and branding boldly with attractive marketing. Moreover, she provides a distinctive hands-on approach when working with entrepreneurs that empowers, equips, and elevates business owners to take their brand to the next level. Ashley Scott is an active member within her church, within her church ministry, the Life House of Church, Bennett College National Alumni Association, and supports women entrepreneurs with her coaching and advice column, Dear Ashley, exclusively at the Minority Christian Women Entrepreneurs Network. Ashley is also a phenomenal Benet Belay, if I'm saying that right, and a proud member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. Sister Ashley.
Good evening. Thank you so much for that introduction. I'm so grateful to be here. All praises to Allah. We are just grateful to be able to be amongst you today. Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. What we want to do, if you can, we just want to ask you some brief questions about what you all did, what kind of led up, what were the events that led up to you deciding to purchase the land with the intent to develop it into a community?
Well, it all started with the unrest that we were dealing with in the middle of, the end of May with George Floyd's murder, watching Ahmaud Arbery being murdered in the middle of the streets, Breonna Taylor in her sleep. I just became kind of depressed about everything that was going on. Ashley and I are both married to Black men. We both have Black sons, and we are both solution-oriented women. So we were just thinking about, like, what can we do to take care of our household, like our husbands? Because it just got to a point where when my husband would go to work, I would get anxiety. Like, I would pace the house. I would call him every 5 minutes, like, are you okay? Are you okay? Like, it was just too much. Ashley sought out therapy. And I guess we had a conversation, and later that day, I saw a post that went viral about a town being on sale for the price of a New York City apartment. And I sent it to Ashley because she's a realtor. And we talked about it the next day. We did a lot of research, learned about the town. We knew that they had a open house coming up. We drove 2 hours down to the open house. And when we got there, we saw so many realtors, investors, and so many Black people. So we knew something was going to happen in this town, and we wanted to be a part of it in some way. And once we got there, like, everything was overpriced what we saw. But Ashley, being the amazing realtor that she is, she was like, sis, it's some more property that I want you to look at. So as we were driving around this last piece of land we went to, we got out, and it was like both of us got chills immediately. And we looked at each other and was like, this is it. This is the land. And I was like, we can buy this land, but it'll be so dope if we got our friends and family together and we bought this property. And on the way home, we was just thinking about all the possibilities, like who we could bring on, what we could put where, like all the just endless possibilities of what we could build. And we went home. Ashley made an amazing presentation. We emailed our friends. I said, Ashley, you get 10 of your friends, I'll get 10 of mine. We sent out an email. Everybody joined the Zoom meeting that we had. We didn't think people were really going to come, because you know how when you put out or have an opportunity from you, the first thing people get to thinking is, oh, it must be some susu or a multi-level marketing scheme. It's just something. And I was just hoping and praying, like, okay, everybody will be interested. And when they got on and we explained everything that we wanted to do, we had 10 family members sign up that night. And then we had a few that was like, it's not enough information. I'm not prepared for this. And then we had some that was like, let me talk to my spouse and I'll get right back with you. The next morning they called, like, okay, sign us up. And that's how our 19 families were formed.
Okay, praise be to God. Yeah, I remember, I think I watched, this is in the webinar, because I definitely purchased the webinar, how to buy and develop land, utilizing group economics. And I know you all addressed in there one of the issues that we have, or one of the stereotypes that we face is, oh, I can't do business with, you know, a lot of times we say the same stuff. I can't do business with my own, or I don't want to go into a venture, you know, with my family or with my friends. But you all were able to overcome that. And we're getting now into, we're seeing now the reality that we pretty much, that's what we're going to have to do to get out of this thing. We don't have too many allies anywhere else that's going to take us on.
Exactly. Well, we have to change our thinking, because believe it or not, I used to be one of those ones that was like, oh, I'm not ever going into business with my family and friends. But it's a matter of changing your mindset. And believe it or not, getting those 19.
You muted.
I said, but getting the 19 families together was our easiest part. Like that was the most easiest thing, getting everybody to come together, because you just have to change your mindset. It's no, oh, I can do everything by myself. You can't. I tried and I failed so many times. And it wasn't until I said, look, let's build a team that everything's just fell in place. You cannot do it by yourself. So if that's what you're thinking, you have to change your mindset.
Can you touch on in the beginning phase when you first saw the land and when you went to when you looked at it and decided you were going to purchase it? What was your initial intention for it? Was it always to develop it into a community, or was it?
Our initial intention was just for the 19 families to live on the 97 acres that we first purchased. We was just gonna build up like our boutiques and shops and bring our businesses to the land and build our homes there. But once the post went viral, like so many people were interested, we ended up buying another 400 acres of land. So now we own a total of 502 acres, and we are on our way to building a city.
There you go. I think I wanted you all to highlight that because we were just discussing the precedents for Black people to start. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, make our own communities a decent and safe place to live. And Sister Ava just expounded on the way that we really do that. It's not by trying to eke out a better reality for ourselves in these little sub-colonies that we have all across the US where we just live there and don't own anything, but really to get to the foundation of that is owning the land. And then out from the land, you can get whatever it is that is in your mind, whatever vision you have for your future, you can get that. And then having the foresight to have it chartered or to develop it into a city, now you're getting into governing yourself. So not only owning, but now Black people taking the point for self-governance, which is very important, which is the solution to our issue.
That's very true. So many times we wait on other people to do it for us when we have all the power in our hands to do it for ourselves. And that's what we decided to do.
Right. Praise be to Allah. So let me ask you this. What would be your advice to anyone else that wanted to replicate a project similar to the Georgia Freedom Initiative?
I would first say, write the vision and make it plain. Secondly, I would say the people that you would want to bring in, it's not necessarily going to be family members. It's not necessarily going to be people that you grew up with from your neighborhood. It's like Ashley and I, we've been friends for 6 years and we're doing this project together. Step outside of yourself. Get people that you know are serious. Get like-minded individuals, people that think like you. And another thing Ashley would say, I don't know if she's still on here because she was having technical difficulties as well. When you look for land, try to look for unincorporated land, because when you have unincorporated land, it's not a lot of permits and laws, and it doesn't really stop you from doing a lot of things that you want to do. So that's 3 key things that I would say. I don't know if Ashley want to add to that.
Is Ashley still with us, or did she fall off? I think she might have, I think she was coming in and out.
No worries. She said she was, she said she can't unmute.
Is anybody able to unmute her? Let me see if I can.
Yes. One of the things that I would definitely say for preparing yourself to purchase land is to make sure your money and your credit is right. Like at the end of the day, before we can start to go on any of these types of journeys, we have to have a financial strategy and an economic development within our own households. So really taking the time to make sure that your financial house is in order, so that way when these types of opportunities are presented, you can jump on it. Sometimes you might not necessarily have the best of credit, but if you do have, you know, a good job or some income, and you can be the person that participates financially on a project, you definitely want to take that risk. I think one of the things that holds us back is this aversion to risk. We are always worried about what can go wrong. And if we ever want to get ahead, you've got to step out on faith, and you have to know that God has not given us a spirit of fear. He does not call us to be anxious or worried. And while we do want to be wise and count up a cost before we build something, we still want to know that when we put our money together and we work together collaboratively, there's no challenge that we are not going to be able to overcome with unity and by working together and cooperating together. So you have to definitely have the ability to be able to financially contribute. And then you got to have the spirit to say, yes, I am going to contribute. I'm not going to withhold my seed, because you can't have a harvest if you don't put something on it and put something in the ground. And so that's something that I think we all sometimes struggle with, is those fears of why, you know, someone might stab us in the back, or we think someone's going to do us, you know, in a way that doesn't serve us. But we don't serve ourselves if we don't take any risk, if we don't take any type of action. So I definitely want to encourage people to have their financial house in order. And then if you do have your financial house in order, don't be afraid to put some seed in the ground. And yes, you might, some seed gets plucked up by the sparrows, some goes to the wayside. But if you don't put some seed in the ground, it won't be able to really take root and grow and bring the harvest if you just holding on to it out of fear. So you definitely want to have that spirit to say, you know what? Yes, I'm going to collaborate with my brothers and my sisters. And while some things may go wrong, you have to be willing to have that grace and that compassion to say, you know what? I'm still going to continue to invest in my sisters and my brothers so that we can have something for ourselves.
Yes, ma'am. Amen. Amen to that. Um, uh, I want to ask you the next question, and if you both can give us some insight into this, how you feel. What is the importance of building these safe haven communities, and the benefit of developing these communities that are engineered to meet our very specific needs, our as Black people? What is the importance of that?
Well, I will say that it's essential now more than ever, with all of the things going on, particularly in the United States of America. We have to have safe havens. We have to have independent, self-sufficient communities that have control of over our basic needs, our water, our food. And if we don't become wise and create those types of spaces, one day we might wake up and not have access to those basic needs because we don't control them. So now more than ever, I think it's essential that we partner up, that we collaborate, that we get land and we buy land, and we create plans of action that's strategic so that we can amass the necessary resources that we have to have as folks, that we can take care of ourselves, particularly if it was to come a time where we don't have, as America, the resources that we're used to having because of all of the things that are going on in the global scene. Anything could happen overnight. And if we aren't prepared as a Black American community, as believers, as people who have some sense of self and community, and knowing that we have to take care of each other and our own, we won't have what we need to do that. So if we don't get wise and start learning to unify and collaborate and to have a real strategic network of infrastructure and industry, so that if I'm lacking, if we lacking something in Freedom, Georgia, I should be able to get what I need from my neighbors in Alabama or my neighbors in Florida. So we really just have to start thinking a whole lot more strategically as far as infrastructure and industries go when it comes to our basic needs.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. One of the things that we don't do is we rely on everyone else to provide for us what we're able to provide for ourselves. If we just gave it minimal effort. And I just wanted to, if you all can share, I know when I spoke to you, Renee, and I believe it was you and the CEO, Laura Cooper, you all talked about the success, the immediate success when you went on this venture and the word got out, all of the support, rather I should say, that you all received from the broader community going forward. And I just, hearing you talk about forming alliances and going to others that are taking on this venture as well, we're trying to meet some of our basic needs. We really become a self-sufficient, self-reliant community. And I think that effort would definitely be blessed if we were able to succeed.
Yes, I definitely agree.
I'm sorry, I'm trying to, somebody hopped on. I'm trying to see if I can. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Okay. Sister Ava, you got anything you want to add to that?
Well, I'm just overjoyed listening to Sister Renee and to my soror, Ashley, Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. But I think on a even more profound level, listening to my sisters who are mothers of young children, and speaking of husbands and the love of their Black man and the concern which they're expressing, I shouldn't say they like they're not here, you two sisters are expressing, which manifests that despite all of the propaganda through media that suggests that the Black man and Black woman don't love one another. We do love one another by nature when we are ourselves and when there's not all of this intrusion by certain types of entertainment and the bringing down of our natural level of morality and spirituality. And the idea that this can be done with people close to us. We don't just suffer financially. We suffer psychologically when we have to take our creative resources, our education, our experience, our brilliance, and then have to fight our way into white America's companies and businesses and into their professional sports leagues or into their medical profession, the legal profession, not able to have access to decent food, living in these, as Minister Farrakhan calls them, colonies, which are commonly known as ghettos, where we are forced to live. And so I'm so inspired, and I love that our sisters were willing to come on and spend this time with us, because so many of our people do fear what they perceive as that risk. But I can't even say it's risky for us to step out of our homes every day in this country because Breonna Taylor wasn't outside of her home. She was in her bed sleeping at night, and it was not a safe haven for her. So I just wanted to reiterate our gratitude to our sisters for being on with us this evening.
Sister Ava, you are speaking my language. Like, thank you so much. I wanted to give you a couple of.
You're muted, Sister Ashley.
When it comes down to it, now is the time. Now is our time.
Yes.
And if we don't come together, all of the statistics that people are talking about Black wealth getting to zero in the next by 2025, if we don't reverse the curse, it's on us. It's not on anybody else but us as a people at this point to take all of our resources, all of our disposable income, everything we've got, and figure out how to purchase as much land and strategically purchase that land so that we can build our own really strongholds in places where we do feel safe, where we are in charge, where we are able to have self-determination for ourselves, the kind of communities that we deserve. We have been living in communities that were designed by other people for their own beneficial purposes, for propping up their capitalistic society. So we have to go back to the land, back to our roots, and not just in the sense of, oh, we need to be farming, and that's important too, but we have to turn to our people and those skill sets. Like Sister Ava was saying, we have been giving too much of our brilliance to these other companies and corporations for far too long. It's time for us to take that genius and turn it inward into our own community, into our own culture, so that we can advance the innovations that we have that only we can create. Because all of the advancements that this world enjoys, it comes from us. And when we have a safe haven and the ability to think clearly and to be able to be immersed in our own culture, what would we create? What kind of problems will we be able to solve? And so it goes far beyond just a safe haven that allows us to survive, but this is about thriving.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. All praises due to Allah.
Beautiful. Yes.
Beautifully said. Sister Ashley, I'm going to read a quote that you said in the webinar, if you don't mind. You said, buying land is genuinely a way and a means for us to intentionally create a better world. And the way you just explained that, because I know a lot of us, typically when we think of land, we go straight to farming. We go straight to manual labor, but there's so much value that comes out of that. One of those just being able to control the environment, the entirety of it. So I wanted to ask, just if you can briefly elaborate on what you feel are some of our most specific needs when we talk about building and developing communities to meet our specific needs. What is one of those specific needs that you feel that has to be addressed immediately?
Well, our well-being, obviously. We are at higher rates than anybody, literally dying from ailments that are completely curable. And a lot of that is designed because the communities we live in, where you walk around and what do you see? Fast food, fried chicken, Popeyes, KFC, stuff that's literally killing us. So getting more education and more control over our food situation, food sovereignty is the only way that we're going to be able to live. We have to go back to the way that Allah calls us to live, to be perfectly honest. And the things that are happening in our food system is atrocious. The things that are happening with water in Michigan and Flint and in other places. If we can purchase our own land and then have control over the community environmental setup, the entire surrounding, to make it more walkable, to encourage bike riding, to encourage people to eat from the fruits of the trees that we've planted throughout the community, to encourage people to go to the farmers market, to eat halal, and to know the goats and the chickens and the animals that we're eating. Those are the things that are going to help us to have better health. And if we have better health, we'll have a better quality of life all the way around. And that's one of the things that is really important to us in the design of this community, is to design it for optimal health and optimal well-being, so that when you are living in community with one another, we are doing the very best activities all the time. And then, of course, we want to make sure that our air is not polluted, that our water is not polluted, that we have higher standards for ourselves than what is currently the standard here in most American cities, because that's the only way we're going to ensure that our children's children have a community that is healthy.
I think you're muted.
Have a few and an expected end, because right now we are leaving all of this up to the current powers that be. And we see that our life expectancy is our Black men, our Black women, we're dying from heart disease. We've been overly, we've been overly dying because of, what they call those health conditions in the pandemic. When people are having those pre-existing conditions, it makes us more vulnerable because of the community setups that we live in that don't give us access to the fresh fruits and vegetables that we need to be able to have the nutrients that we need to be as healthy as we should be. Because all of these conditions are conditions that are based on what we eat. And so I think that's one of the most important things with this movement, is creating communities that give us access to those fresh fruits and vegetables that we need to live.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Hey, Brother Michael, are you on? I don't know if he fell off. Well, what I'll say.
Yes, sir, I'm here.
Michael, can you elaborate from your perspective as a new farmer, some ways that we can, or some innovative thoughts of yours on how we can provide that service for our people, for ourselves?
Yes. There was a movie called Bruce Almighty, or Evan Almighty, and Morgan Freeman playing God. He says to Evan, Evan asked the question, well, how do you, and the response was, one act of kindness at a time. Well, how do we change our reality as a people? And Sister Renee and Sister Ashley are pointing right into it. One purchase of property and land, acquiring of land at a time. All we have to do as a people is believe in one another. Me being in this new role of striving to learn and educate myself into agriculture is not because I grew up as a farmer and I have this knowledge already of it. It's just the understanding of what it is that we need. Like Sister Ashley Renee pointed out to, the basic needs of our people is obvious, and we shouldn't waste so much time trying to think out of doing for ourselves and our people. We should strive hard to find ways to do those things, even if it may be a little discomfort discomfort for ourselves, because it's for the entire whole. You know, so what I'm doing here, it's not because I'm doing it because I want something to, you know, of vanity for it. It's not because I even necessarily say, hey, I want to be a farmer. It's just once you get the land, then you got to do something with it. And then once you start doing something with it, you got to maintain what you started. And you can't rip up the ground and then leave it that way. So then one thing leads to the next, leads to the next learning, leads to the next learning. Before you know it, you're engulfed in your own natural instinct of life itself. And so my advice to all of us that is listening, just like Sister Renee Ashley said, just go out and believe in yourself, believe in your brother and your sister, believe in the fact that this is what we was born to do at this time in a perfect moment of space and time. We could have been born 100 years too early and missed out on such an opportunity to fulfill God's promise. And in their prayer, we was the one that was going to be the one that answers it. So we don't know that we're that much equipped with all of the necessary tools. All we got to do is decide, and it's done. So, you know, as far as farming and buying land, the land is already for sale. So now it's waiting for us to buy it. COVID done made such a beautiful opportunity for Black people to go in and get what is now so readily available. Some of these properties have gone for almost free in comparison to what they would sell for 20 years ago, 10 years ago, or just pre-COVID. You'll find in families where their children don't even want the land no more. And they got children within your same age bracket and they just don't want it. So they're just giving it away because they themselves have reached a certain age where they can't even take care of it no more and don't want to take care of it no more. So we're at the opportunity, just like Sister Renee, Sister Ashley said, they had me over here cheering because they're just a reflection and proof that we are the chosen people of God.
That's right.
Praise be to Allah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I know one of the things that we spoke about that is I don't want to say it's very important to me, even though it is, because there's so much involved in this that it's like we got to touch every aspect. But I know from being law enforcement, being police, one of the things that I see on a constant basis on both sides of the coin, how we are treated as a people in our communities by those who we have trusted to serve and protect us. And one of the things we talked about, Sister Renee and Sister Ashley, in the first part of the show was the precedents now for us to start policing ourselves and policing ourselves in a logistical and organized way. Not just, it begins with every family member, every member of the community, the neighbor looking out for each other. But we talked about developing and creating institutions that are in congruency with the policy and the vision for our communities in regards to what our police personnel look like and how they serve the communities that we build. And I think that what you all are doing and what will be replicated from what you all are doing will allow us to do that in a very holistic way in regards from coming from a police perspective, where we're able to now be the premier policy objectives for what we want the law enforcement personnel in our communities to look like, how we want them to behave, how we want them to be trained, what we want them to be trained to do, how we want them to view the community, what services that should they provide. And I was telling Renee when we had dinner, I come to work every day in a tie and patent leather shoes, even though that's not the most comfortable. I wear that because I want the people in the community to see me as a servant and to see me as someone there that's not ready to just pull out all of these magazines and AR-15 rounds or whatever off my vest to kill them, but I want to be approachable. And as we build communities and we develop policy or have policy in mind for our law enforcement, that's what we want. You know, that's what we want, and that's what we can demand because it's ours. So I'm gonna. You have anything you want to add to that, Sister Ava, before we go on to the next question?
No, I not right now, because I want our sisters to be able to continue to enlighten and edify the viewers, so we can go to the next question. I can come back another day.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, so this is the last question, Sister Renee, Sister Ashley. What does the ultimate level of success for the Georgia Freedom Initiative look like to you, and what is your vision of the best possible outcome for the venture, for the Georgia Freedom Initiative?
Well, this is Sister Ashley, and I will just say that for me, I would love us to be a Timbuktu, a place that is a repository for Black information, Black knowledge, Black history, a place where we have workforce development and innovation, where people are being trained on cutting edge technologies, and that we are the source for everything we need because of that self-sufficiency and independence that we've created. So I want Freedom Georgia to be a beacon of light and of hope for other communities to be able to replicate our model and to be able to see a successful, thriving, prosperous community, not just in Georgia, but in cities and states all over the country where we have these alliances, where we're sending our best and our brightest to ensure that we have these pockets of communities where Black Americans can be sure that we're going to be all right.
That's right.
And I'll just add to that, creating a village again, where we're family again, where we're holding each other accountable for our actions and just taking care of each other. To me, that's what a successful city looks like.
Praise be to Allah. So, where can we find you on social media, on the web? Where can we find you, and how can we support? If you want to share that with the audience.
Well, you can go first off to www.freedomgeorgia.com, and that's going to get you connected to us on the World Wide Web. You can also follow us on Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook, and it's just Freedom GA 2020. That's Freedom GA 2020, and that's going to be on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And then you can connect with me personally at Ashley Scott KW on Instagram, or ashleyscotthomes.com, where you can schedule a consultation. You can get with Renee on her web on Instagram at front page Nay. That's front_page_Nay, Nay. And then the last thing we always tell people is that if you really, 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 really want to be a part of the movement, you really want to be down with Freedom Georgia Initiative and say that I am putting my hands to the plow to build this movement and to help create a nation within a nation, we need everybody on here to go to www.baf.solutions, not .com, .solutions. That's the Black Achievement Fund. The Black Achievement Fund, we have one goal: to get 10 million Black Americans contributing $9 per month to create $90 million a month and $1 billion a year for us to self-fund ourselves. We can buy up the land, We can pay for our own infrastructure. We can build our own hospitals. We can build our own schools when we get on one accord and we put our money where our mouth is, and we allow our top talent and our brilliant Black minds the foundational finances that they need, the capital that they need, and that we all need to be able to build our communities self-sufficiently and to make them self-sustainable. That's a residual income. That means every month, if everybody's giving $9 a month, that's us being able to meet our needs as a community. And then the way that it works is eventually we can take care of ourselves because we will have that foundation and that infrastructure that allows us to be self-sufficient, because that's the only thing that we've ever been missing as a community is that access to capital and that organizational structure that allows us to work together strategically. And the Black Achievement Fund is that place for us.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And to Sister Ashley or Sister Renee, if you can also to let them know about the webinar that you offer.
Yes. So we do have a webinar. It is our How to Buy Land Using Group Economics webinar. You can purchase it online. You get 4 seminars that are pretty much they're the same information. However, each seminar is a little different because there's different questions and different flavor to it. We go through different websites and look at the different prices of land in different places. So it's a really great website to go to get your feet wet, to understand the whole principles behind purchasing land using group economics. And that link is in the chat. It's bit.ly/seminar bundle deal. And if you click that, it'll take you to the website for you guys to support our workshop.
Okay, to live. Definitely do that. I got it. And the information, the content that's in there, I know she said it's almost like it's the same, but to me, every last one of them videos is different. And
it is.
and the content that's in there is revolutionary because we're out of this phase of just talking about it now. Now we're in the operational phase of making this happen. And the content that's in there shows you in a step-by-step way how to do that and what they did and how they did what they did and how it can be replicated. So I strongly recommend it. Okay, we got about 3 minutes left. Sister Renee, you wanna jump in on anything for your last remarks?
I would just say that if this is something that you're really serious about doing and you haven't doubt, just step outside of yourself, change your thinking. I would like to quote my friend Jessica of the shipping container lady. The sky is not the limit. You can do all things that you put your mind to. And I welcome everybody to freedom.
Yes, ma'am. I'll be down there for Juneteenth. I ain't forget.
Woo, yes,
please come to
Juneteenth.
our
Let me put that in the
camp
chat.
out.
Okay, you said put it in the chat. Yeah, we'll put it in there. We'll put it in there. Make sure we put it in. I thank you all for coming on and sharing with us. You know, all of what you all have shared. And this won't be the last time. We look forward to getting step by step, you know, day by day, week by week updates and supporting you all in this endeavor. Sister Ava, you.
Yeah, there's a great coalition springing up across the country in little clusters here and there. And so, as our sisters have pointed out, let's make this network. Let's join together. It's just counterintuitive. It's just unhealthy. The gifts God has given us, and give it to anybody else but ourselves. Self first, then others. This is the principle we have to live by. Accept our own and be ourselves. And I just want to thank these 2 beautiful young ladies for being such a wonderful, wonderful example of moving out. Desire feeds the will. And that desire, I have to say it again, the desire rooted in their love of their men and their children, and then family. That's where it starts. It starts with self and then moves out. We've been doing it backwards. We've been trying to gain acceptance outside of who we are and then bringing it in, and that doesn't work. So we're very grateful, and we look forward, Sister Renee, Sister Ashley, to seeing you again soon and doing what we can to support one another. May Allah continue to bless you both, and assalamu alaikum. Thank you.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum. Good night.
Wa alaikum salam. Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you, Brother Cartier, for reaching out to our sisters. And, you know, I want to say, because we only got about 20 minutes before we close the whole program, that Minister Farrakhan gave us the way, and it wasn't the first time. I mean, we've been getting these teachings for 90 years, but the 20th anniversary of the Million Man March, again, when he not only said, make your own community a safe and decent place to live, maybe we forgot, but he called for a national economic boycott. And, you know, listening to the sisters and what Sister Ashley spoke about capital and about the ability to invest, we've been able to eke out more than $1 trillion out of this economy, despite the suppression and oppression. But we have to transition from being a consumer-only people. And you start with making demands of how you are treated as a consumer. We have to demonstrate an awareness of the value that we bring to the table, even monetarily, even when you talk about currency, which is not real. It goes up and down. A dollar is a symbol of a person's leverage in that society. But even being at the bottom rung, we still have tremendous power. But it only works, as the minister has implored us to understand, when we pool our resources, as taught by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And so we have to stop being heedless in how we spend our money as a people. And I'm just imploring us to go back and revisit what Minister Farrakhan directed us to do that we really did not do. We did it that one season in 2015 during the so-called holiday season, and it had a tremendous impact. But then we went on to something else. One of the things that is going to be required of us is focus and maintaining a level of attention to what we're doing. And this is how these sisters went from 100 acres initially to 500 acres. So you start out, as you talked about, Brother Michael, earlier, you have this vision in front of you that you can do something, but it's only when you move out on that you get the sight to see the next thing. You know, it's like going up in a plane. You have a certain level of what you can see standing on the ground. But as you rise and as you gain altitude, you see more and more. Well, it's the same way with our mind. The more we move out on these beautiful visions that Allah is giving each and every one of us, but we toss it to the side so that we can keep on being a modern day slave, because that's where our comfort level is. And as the minister teaches, there's a difficulty factor attached to everything of value. That is a universal mathematical truth. It's not a model, it is a fact. There is a difficulty factor attached to everything of value. And so anything that has value is going to have a difficulty in obtaining it. And we can't keep turning away from opportunity because the slave mind in us says, oh, that's too hard. I'm just going to go in and keep doing what I've been doing. The status quo has a very powerful gravitational pull. It's just human nature to have to fight to overcome this inclination to just keep doing what we've been doing. And as I heard the minister say, 80% of what we think today is what we thought yesterday. And so, as I think Sister Renee said, you get to open your mind up, think outside the box. And I think that's the challenge we're faced with. And this particular episode of Elevated Places Network, this presentation tonight is the first in a series that we're going to continue bringing to all of those who are desirous of living in the fullness of life. You know, a world where our children are not reared by someone else through us, where like parrots, we just repeat to them what we're hearing from the former slave master and crushing their creative capability in the process. So we're going to continue this, and I'm just thankful to Allah for our sisters and for the whole team that made this possible tonight, and we're just going to keep it moving. Thank you, Brother Cartier.
Yes, man. Yes, man. Praise be to Allah. You know, you said something very profound, and Sister Ashley said the same in regards to building a world, and how she said, the way she said it, we've been behind much of the advancement, if not all of the advancement. And we've done that in a disorganized, dead, visionless state, where only thing that we do is try to manage a white reality, as so often is said. That's what we aspire for. But as we embark on this, the vision of Allah, God, for us in this country, as Black men and women, is to produce the kingdom of God on earth. And we've been unable and unsuccessful to do that because we've been looking towards that to come from someone else. But as we open up or expand our breasts and expand our minds and take on this endeavor of collectively working together to build amongst ourselves, Allah will manifest through us so much for what we do intentionally that we've been doing by accident underneath the devil. So I just wanted to share that because it shows the importance of everyone and all of the disciplines, sciences, professions, expertises, whatever you do, it could be used to this in this endeavor, because separation, the process of separation, really is just the building and the developing of a new system, a new paradigm in every field. So anything that you do, me being a police, Sister Ava being a lawyer, we have doctors, we have vocational workers, first responders, finance, economics, farming, whatever it is. It could be used for this because we're using it already to build someone else's world. But now Allah wants to use us to build his. So come on, let's get this work.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And I think we have an announcement. I've been blessed to be able to publish a new ebook. And I think it fits in with what we've been discussing tonight. Sister Ashley really gave a beautiful,
There it is.
praise be to Allah. She gave a beautiful presentation, a little segment of it that was a whole presentation in of itself about taking control of our eating. Oh, she said, I love this phrase. She said, food sovereignty, food sovereignty. And so I'm pleased to announce, and it's available right now for the first time on ministerava.com, a new ebook called Life in the New Millennium, How We Will Think and Eat. And the cover photo is actually Rwanda. It's taken from the East African country of Rwanda. And just quickly, you know how the media presents certain places in a negative connotation so that we will stay away from it while white people try to run to it and enjoy it. And Rwanda, which underwent a terrible phase of wars, internal wars, several years ago. And that, of course, almost all of the problems on the continent of Africa were generated from US and European intrusion, as are the problems in our communities. And so now the country has enjoyed a resurgence, and there are a number of Muslims who have actually moved there and brought to us the knowledge of the opportunities and the beauty of that country. And so that photo that you see in the colorful homes is of a reality that is existing now. Because don't forget that even as we were kidnapped, young people kidnapped off of the coast of West Africa and brought here in 1555 to begin this horrific process that we've undergone, but has also served as a purge of any rebellion that was in us against divine commandments. Now we're at the end of that. We've atoned through the suffering of our parents. And so while we were brought over here, our continent that is truly, its actual name is East Asia, but it's called Africa, it was depleted of young, strong people who would have grown into the next generation, brought over here. And then the Europeans were simultaneously invading our homeland. And so we are also witnessing, as was chronicled in the Final Call newspaper a few weeks ago, there's an exodus that is taking place from America. A large number of Black people are moving. They are moving to the Caribbean. They are moving to Central and South America. They are moving to Africa. But our duty too is to do something here in the land that we made wealthy, that we made mighty, beginning with the cotton industry in the South. There was a reason they called it King Cotton. And it was our blood, sweat, and tears that lifted this nation up from some little third-rate country into a world power. And we must never forget that. But the book is all about not what I'm doing, but what I'm not teaching it because I've mastered it. They say you teach what you need to learn, but it goes into much more depth about the need, as was alluded to tonight, and I think Sister Ashley spoke on it, where we are feeding ourselves death at the fast food restaurants. We're not getting clean water. We're not getting fresh air. And all of these things are components that lead to our death. It was said about us as though we have some inherent deficiency when COVID-19 virus began spreading that, oh, the Black people have preconditions. Well, the minister raised the question, what is our condition? See, it's our condition here that has led to the development of these preconditions, such as diabetes. 40% of the people that died from COVID-19 were diabetic. And 96% of all of the COVID-19 deaths were in people that had 2.6 preconditions. Everything from whether it's obesity, hypertension, kidney disease, you name it. But as one of our scientists said in a meeting that Minister Farrakhan hosted, COVID is airborne, but diabetes is foodborne. And think what we could do in improving our health. So we say to our medical profession, don't just run out here during this pandemic and tell us we should take a vaccine. We need to talk about building our immune system back up so that what Allah gave us, this complex, exquisite organism that can defeat any invader that doesn't belong there. But we can't do that until we take full control of what we eat from the seed to the table. We got to stop going on hearsay about what we're eating, about what the enemy of our freedom tells us is in something. We have to know that personally for ourselves. So I invite you to ministerava.com to get the latest ebook, Life in the New Millennium. And we're in it. We're in the 21st century. We are in it. So it's time to act like the winners that we are. So I'm going to turn it back over to you, Brother Cartier, to, I guess, close us out. The time went by quickly. It's been beautiful. And again, I want to thank the whole Project Separation team, including Sister Rona Muhammad, Sister Donna Muhammad, Sister Anissa Muhammad, Sister Deanna Muhammad. I hope I don't leave anybody out. If I do, cue me. And of course, you, Brother Cartier, Brother Michael, all who have made this possible. Brother Troy and Sister Donna Muhammad, with everything from technical to reaching out to our guests, to creating promotional material. And I want to thank above all of those of you out there who joined us tonight. And I hope that you were enlightened, edified, and inspired by this program. And I'll turn it back over to my brother to close out. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. Brother Michael, you want to close us out in prayer as we begin?
Yes, sir.
Kitchen prayer.
Can you hear me good?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. All right. I'll do it in Arabic and then in English, if that's okay. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahmanir-Rahim. Maliki Yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Ihdinas siratal mustaqim. Siratal ladzina an'amta alayhim. Ghayril maghdubi alayhim waladhdallin. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, Master of this day of judgment in which we now live. To thee alone do we serve, and to thee alone do we beseech for aid. O Allah, guide us on the right path. the path of those upon whom thou hast bestowed thine favors, and not the path of those upon whom wrath is brought down, and nor of those who go astray after they have heard thy teachings. Say he, Allah is one God. Allah is he, of none is independent, but upon whom we all depend. He is neither beget, nor is he begotten, and there is none besides him. And I bear witness, and we bear witness, that none deserves to be worshipped besides Allah. And I and we bear witness that the most honorable Elijah Muhammad is the Christ, and that the most honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is the Messiah in our midst. May we grant them protection forever. Ameen.
Ameen.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
Wa alaikum salam. Thank you all. Love you all.
Love you too.